Hey guys, welcome to another episode of my bike build, and you're watching the KR Moto channel. So what's going on, guys? I know it's been a couple weeks since I've done a video. I was working on my daughter's car, which was a complete fail. We did a bunch of stuff on it, and come to find out the timing chain was bad. And I kind of figured that's what was going on with it. The second time I got into it, it was just making a bunch of noise and it was rattling. So, but anyways, what I'm going to do is today I'm going to be doing another valve adjust on this. I'm going to check this and make sure the valves are good and adjusted right after I've ran it. I heard a little bit of ticking noise or clicking noise, and that also could be from the carburetors not being synced. And so I'm going to do that. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to adjust the valves and make sure that they're adjusted good and they're not too loose and they're not too tight. So, I was watching another moto vlogger that I recently have been watching. Through the past, I've watched a bunch of his videos. Pretty cool. But anyways, I had mentioned on there when he was doing one of his live video streams, and he had the same problem. He heard some tapping noise. It was clicking. The bike just wasn't quite running right. People were telling him the chain's too loose. Well, when the chains are too loose on the bikes, if you back off the throttle and the engine compresses, you know, for braking, engine braking, what they call it, you could hear that chain really slapping, and it wasn't due to that, so I don't think it was his chain. He had a manual chain adjuster on there instead of an automatic one, which is comes standard with a lot of these bikes. But anyways, I put a manual one on mine. You guys know that, so I can adjust the chain. They're more reliable, in my opinion. But so I had mentioned, because he had been taking the bike back and forth and putting shims in the valves and all that stuff, and he'd been taking the valve cover on and off, I had mentioned to put grease on the valve cover gasket, and they're like, why the hell would you do that? Well, it's an old school trick. It seals, because once the grease gets like hot, it kind of makes it sticky, but yet it'll save the gasket, and you will not have to. If you got to take the valve cover off and on there, you want to save the gasket, because gaskets can get expensive, especially for these older bikes. They're getting more and more far and few between. So I just unscrewed this. I had not messed with it. I put the bolts. I did a pattern on here that from my old cardboard piece, and this is always good to have, so that way you know where to put your bolts back. But anyways, all I did was lift this thing up, and you can see the gasket. So it's kind of sticking in some areas around here, but most of it you can see the gasket is pretty much loose on here. And you can kind of see in there where the grease had sealed it. So that's why I use grease to put on top of the valve cover gasket. It's an old school trick. I've been doing it since God knows how long. So basically, if another trick to use, if you got like a piece of the valve cover like here on the end sticking onto the head, see how that is? Just go ahead and use a gapper, one of these, and you can just kind of stick this underneath there like this, and get this into focus here, and just kind of, don't be too forceful with it, but just kind of put some pressure on there, and it'll help remove this. So I have some rubber pieces on here, and that's probably why it's sticking right there. You can see the rubber pieces there. It's sticking on that one a little bit too, but like I said, just use use a gapper, to spark plug gapper or valve cover gapper, you know. Anyways, this works perfect. But that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be doing this, and I'm going to try to get this done, and then also I need to readjust my clutch. I want to get this tightened up down here. I want to try to get my chain on. I got to get the spacers correct on the back of this here, because like I said before, when I was moving to a different shop, I had to get this stuff and just put it on there and just roll the bike up onto a trailer. But that's what I'm going to be doing today, guys. All right, guys, you see how pretty that gasket still looks? There's like nothing on it, no like crap on it trying to clean it off, and the grease works really good. So I mean, this should probably work just as well as on rubber, as it does on the cloth or whatever, copper, or not copper, but cloth and copper, or paper and copper, whatever they make this shit out of, cork. Yeah, so you can see right here, you know, where the grease has kind of gotten, and it'll wipe right off, man. I mean, it's easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recheck the chain. Everything looks really good in here. It's not looking nasty. I'll probably put some more assembly lube down inside there, but everything is looking really well. This one here, it sounded like it was a little loose. I can kind of feel it. It feels like it's loose. The ones that are all up, you can adjust. The tapping noise that I heard, though, it sounded like it was coming from over here, maybe one of these, but we're just gonna, I mean, that's up a little bit too, so you can kind of see that might be way too loose, but that one feels fine. But the majority of checking these, I mean, you want to check all of them, and so you want to just go through the whole thing again, getting this lined up on your top dead center, and then taking your feeler gauge and readjusting them. You can obviously, I might have adjusted them a little too loose. I kept going back and forth on it, so hopefully I can get it adjusted for the last time. I mean, I got a little bit, there's supposed to be a quarter play in this, and this chain's pretty tight, so I might consider backing this off maybe a turn, so that's off. And by doing that, we're just gonna, sorry if I'm moving around and this thing's skipping out too fast. I'm gonna adjust this. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unscrew this. If you can see this bolt right here, this manual slack adjuster, and this is an APE, guys. They're not that expensive, but they're awesome. So I'm gonna back this out, and then I'll back this out and then adjust the chain. So, and then we're going to turn the engine over. We want it to turn 180 degrees. So it's on top dead center right now, and we're going to turn it over some more so these are facing the right direction. So I'll be back. Okay, so I've got the motor on top dead center. If you guys remember right, I'm gonna go through this real quickly with you guys, so it'll be helpful with these GSs. So you have a mark down here, and you have a T, and then the F mark, and then behind the F mark is the 1 and 4. When you're adjusting your valves, you want this on top dead center. See how I have that on top dead center? There's the T mark right there. Then you have the F over there, and the 1 and the 4 are back here. You want this on top dead center. And so what you want is, you see these marks right here that are on this side, you want them even with the head on both sides, facing the outer direction. Okay, and you want to go ahead to check the slack on your chain. You want to go ahead and rotate this and just check it. That to me might be just a hair too tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this over again, and we're going to get it right back on top dead center. So right there, you're going to start to see this here. Rotate it 360 degrees. Checking that up there. And you can start feeling the compression on there. So there's your 1 and 4 right there. Okay. There's your 1 and 4. You just want it. There's the fire mark, and there is the top dead center. Just so you guys could see that. If you could see that mark good. It's gonna get her lined up nice and straight there. Okay, now since you rotated the motor 360 degrees and you got this on top dead center, because there's 2 top dead center marks on this engine and it can be confusing. So when you're adjusting your valves for your 1 and 4, you want these facing inward. You see how these lines are facing inward? They are inward. Also, you have this arrow down here. Sorry if that sounded contradicting earlier, because I didn't turn the motor over 360 degrees, so I didn't mean to sound contradicting, because it was actually set up for the valve adjust on the other side of the motor, so, or vice versa. But anyways, you can kind of see that line right there and that arrow. So this arrow is pretty much lined up with this here, with this top part of your motor right here on your head. Okay, then you got your arrows. I'm trying to get this in focus. Here, let me get my light, guys. I apologize. I'm trying to make this very simple here. So you see the 1 and the line, the arrow, it's lined right straight up with the head right there, flush with it. And then you have your 2 mark and your 3 mark. So on the 2 and the 3 mark, you want to make sure that you're 20 links out. So you can count these, are the arrows line up exactly to 20 links. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Right there, you see the arrow. I got to turn my other light on over here. But you can see this rivet right here, and you can see the arrow right there. So it might be different on other models. If you have a newer GS, it could be 13, or I mean a GSXR, a newer bike. But that's the way it is on a lot of these GSs, 1100s, and I even think the 1000s. And then you can go from there. You just want to make sure that you're lined up here. We're good and lined up. You're good and lined up there. And you're lined up with this mark right here, top dead center. And I think we're pretty good. Let me just make sure and verify. So there's the line, and it looks like we're pretty much straight up and down there. And then we got those facing in. Remember, they face in on top dead center on the 1 and the 4. And then you have your 1 arrow there that's flush, your 2 and your 3. And as long as that's lined up, that's on top dead center, and you're good. And then we can go from there and adjust the valves. So I hope this helps you out, because last time I didn't get to explain this good enough, and we were doing a lot of pretend shit. So, but basically what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to loosen this up, because it needs, I think, about a little bit more slack in that. You need about at least an 1/8 to 1/4 movement, and this is pretty damn tight. So, and if it is a little bit loose, I can always tighten it back up when it starts running. But the main thing is to get this adjusted right, and you want to keep it from jumping a tooth. If you jump a tooth, you're going to be screwed. It's going to knock this engine way out, and it can cause some shit. And I've only heard of 2 of these chains breaking actually on other bikes, on newer bikes, a couple of times in the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years, but I heard of them breaking, and it just tears shit up, man. You don't want one of these chains breaking. So you don't want it too tight, and you don't want it too loose. All right, so I got my chain adjusted pretty good. What I did is, I mean, I got about that much slack in it. So there's a little bit of, just a little bit of play in there, but it's snug. I backed it off about, I'd say, 1/4 of a turn, but what I did is I kept rotating the engine and checking it, and then I loosened this up back here. You can see how far out I have this here. It's pretty far out. So, but what I'm going to do is I'll probably I'm going to adjust the valves, and then I'll probably re-lube, and then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and turn it over and make sure that these ain't tapping anymore. And if I hear any tapping, I'll just tighten them up a little more. It says in the book that it's in between 0.3 millimeters of an inch to 0.5, and what I adjusted them out was 4, and left them that way. But you can, it's in between. But From what I heard, that a lot of these here, they will loosen up. So you can kind of see the grease there. And that's what I'm talking about, man. There's no gasket sealer to clean up or scrape off in here, and you got grease on here. And if it does break back down and it squeezes out a little bit and goes into your engine and breaks back, it's not going to hurt it. It ain't like gasket sealer and it's going to fuck anything up, pardon my French, but I mean, it works, guys. So I recommend doing that on these types of gaskets. Other than that, we're looking good. There might have been a little bit of shit that come off here. I don't know. That's silicone there that I put on there. Use Suzuki Bond if you're going to do any of this stuff. But yeah, so I'm going to adjust the valves, and I did a video on that earlier, how to do it. This is just going to be a quick overview on readjusting your valves after you've did a rebuild on your motor and you've ran it for a while and started it like I did. And if you hear any noise, it's always good to take the valve cover off, check everything, make sure there's no scarring in here. And you can see these cams look as new as when I put them in the day that they were turned and I got them and stuck them in here. And the same with the pads down in here. You can see the pads are real good. There's no wear, nothing on them already, and they look really good. So I don't want to over tighten nothing, but I don't want anything slapping around in here either, because it's just as bad to have a loose one than it is a tight one. So, but I'm just wiping some of this grease away, and we're going to put some more of this stuff on there, and you can see that, man. It just wipes right off. Yeah. Use the grease, guys. Okay, so now I'm going to take my feeler gauge, and I got this, I don't know, get this adjusted here. You can barely see that, but that's 5 millimeters of an inch there. And we're going to check our intake. And you can see how that's just sliding right in there. You see that? That's too loose. I mean, it's a comfortable 5, and I want these at a 4. And you can tell that this thing's just kind of, I mean, it's a 5. It's been adjusted at a good 5. It's a comfortable 5. That's where it needs to be. So it's a loose 4. And we're going to check the exhaust over here on this side. See how it's off the lobe, though? It's off there. I want it completely off, like this one and this one. You don't want it down like this one over here, where it's touching. You can see where it's kind of touching the pad right there. You can adjust it like that. So actually, there's the first one. Here's the second one, and I won't be able to adjust that one, so I can adjust the 2 outside ones. I'll get you guys back over here, and you can check this out here. So these are a little different than other bikes here. So I'm just gonna check this here. This is a Type 5. See how I'm kind of having to shoving it in there? If this was at 4, we wouldn't want it like this. This is a Type 5, so this one's, that might be a little loose right there, but this one's probably a good 4. So I'll go back over here to the 4, and see how it just kind of slides in there, but it kind of has a little bit of pressure on there. That's what you want. Because if they're too tight, then you're gonna burn a valve, man. And you don't want to do that. Not after all the work that you just done with this thing. And so I mean, this one here seems. This one might need to be tightened down a little bit because it's kind of loosely sliding in there. I mean, I may not or may adjust that one. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to adjust this one here. So basically, that's what I'm looking for. I could probably go ahead and do a 3 with these and let them loosen up on their own. I may do that. I don't know, but I just wanted to do a review on this and show you guys how to adjust your valves, set your bike up on your top dead center with your timing, making sure the chain's right and your ignition's set up down here correctly. And then once you get it running, if you're worried about anything, do what I did. Just pull the valve cover off, man. Double check your work and triple it. It's not going to hurt. It will hurt if you're like, oh, never mind. I'm pretty sure I done it right, but I'm not sure. It's going to give me some nightmares, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it anyways. Then it probably, it may or may not break. But anyway, so I'm just going to recheck the torque on these caps, make sure they're good, make sure everything's good. And we're going to button her back up, and then I'm going to close her up. And I'm not hopefully going to have to do this again. So anyways, guys, hopefully you can enjoy my videos. And please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to leave a comment and give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. And when you do leave a comment, it helps my channel out, and especially the thumbs up and subscribing. So, but anyways, I'm going to get out of here and finish this up. Like I said, this was just a quick review on what I was doing, even though it's like a 20-minute video. So anyways, guys, you guys take care and you have yourself a nice day. Peace.